In Baltimore, the largest city in the American state of Maryland, protests and rioting in reaction to the April 19, 2015 death of Freddie Gray took place over several days. Gray, a 25-year-old African-American resident of the city, died a week after being arrested. Gray was seen to be in apparent good health at his arrest, but later sustained injuries to his spine and larynx. The cause and circumstances of his injuries has not been determined. Gray fell into a coma on April 12, and despite multiple surgical attempts, he never regained consciousness and died exactly a week later. 6 police officers have been suspended pending an investigation. Peaceful protests were organized after his death, and apparently spontaneous protests started after the funeral service, although they eventually became marred with civil unrest and violence. As of April 28, at least 15 police officers have been injured, and at least 200 people have been arrested, and a state of emergency has been declared in the city of Baltimore. April 25. On April 25, 2015, protests were organized in downtown Baltimore. Protesters marched from the Baltimore City Hall to Inner Harbor. After the final stage of the official protest event, some protesters became violent. They damaged at least 5 police vehicles, and pelted police with rocks. Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake said most protesters were respectful, but a small group of agitators intervened. Rawlings Blake said of those who destroyed property while protesting Gray's death, "We also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well." At least 34 people were arrested, and 15 officers were injured. As a result of the groups of violent protesters, individuals attending the Baltimore Orioles and Boston Red Sox baseball game at Oriole Park at Camden Yards were asked to stay at the stadium for their safety. J.M. Giordano, a photographer for Baltimore City paper, was taking pictures of the protest when he was swarmed and beaten by 2 police officers in riot gear. Saeed Serkan Gurbuz, a Reuters photographer with visible press credentials, who filmed the beating from a public sidewalk, was detained and taken away in the police van. He was later released and cited for disorderly conduct. Thereafter, City paper published a video on its website documenting the violence. A photograph of the April 25 rioters standing on a Baltimore police car was superimposed with the text, "All high schools Monday at 3. We are going to purge from Mondawmin to the Ave, back to downtown number FDL," and distributed on social media and as flyers. April 27. Freddie Gray was laid to rest at a peaceful service at the New Shiloh Baptist Church on April 27 at 11 a.m. after a 1-hour public viewing. A large attendance included civil rights leaders, families of other people killed by police, and politicians including Congressman Elijah Cummings, Cabinet Secretary Broderick Johnson, White House Advisor Heather Foster, and Elias Alcantara of the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. At 2 p.m., the University of Maryland Baltimore closed its campus, citing a police warning regarding activities that may be potentially violent, and UMB could be in the path of any violence. At 3 p.m., the purge called for on social media began at Mondawmin Mall, where police in riot gear awaited 75 to 100 people who appeared to be high school students, who began throwing bricks and bottles at them. The violence rapidly spread, and by later that day 2 patrol cars were destroyed and 15 officers were injured. A police cruiser was destroyed, and some officers suffered broken bones. A CVS pharmacy location in downtown Baltimore was looted and burned by protesters. In reaction to the unrest, several places within the city closed early, including the University of Maryland campus in downtown Baltimore, Baltimore City Community College, Coppin State University, the Lexington Market, the National Aquarium, the Enoch Pratt Free Library System, and the Mondawmin Mall. A Baltimore Orioles baseball game against the Chicago White Sox scheduled for the evening at Oriole Park at Camden Yards was also postponed by Major League Baseball due to the unrest. April 28. At about 6 a.m., Baltimore television showed firefighters putting out fires and residents cleaning up after the overnight rioting. National Guard transport vehicles arrived in Baltimore to provide security to vital infrastructure and to give additional support to police. At about 7:35 a.m. the Baltimore mayor's office reported that there were 144 vehicle fires, 15 building fires and nearly 200 arrests. The Orioles baseball game was postponed for a second time. A makeup date has not been announced. On the same day, the Baltimore Ravens also cancelled their NFL draft party in response to the protests. Reactions. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan declared a state of emergency, and activated the Maryland National Guard. Major General Linda Singh of the Maryland National Guard commented that there would be a massive number of soldiers in Maryland on the night of April 27, and that up to 5,000 soldiers could be deployed. At a press conference in the evening, the mayor announced there would be a citywide curfew of 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. starting April 28. In reaction to the unrest, the neighboring counties of Anne Arundel County and Baltimore County canceled school field trips and activities scheduled in Baltimore City until May 3. The Los Angeles Police Department ordered officers to ride in pairs when in cars after Baltimore police determined there was a credible threat of gang violence against police officers across the country, claiming that the Black guerrilla family, the Bloods, and the Crips are teaming up to target police officers. Later, however, leaders of both gangs released a video statement asking for calm and peaceful protest in the area. Maryland State Police activated 500 officers for duty in Baltimore, and requested an additional 5,000 state police officers from other states. Officials also announced that Baltimore's city schools would be closed on Tuesday. President Obama. On April 28, President Barack Obama strongly condemned the violence during a White House press conference, saying, "There's no excuse for the kind of violence that we saw yesterday. It is counterproductive. When individuals get crowbars and start prying open doors to loot, they're not protesting. They're not making a statement. They're stealing. When they burn down a building, they're committing arson. And they're destroying and undermining businesses and opportunities in their own communities. That robs jobs and opportunity from people in that area." The president went on to applaud the actions of peaceful protesters whom he felt were being undermined by the violence, and called upon the nation to take meaningful action to collectively solve poverty and law enforcement issues fueling what he described a crisis.